Welcome to the Legal Aid Center's podcast on generative AI for legal aid from Symbiosis Law School, Hyderabad. I'm Malika, and today we're tackling something that's changing the game in legal services: how generative AI is transforming access to justice. So, here's the thing: we've got millions in India who can't afford a lawyer, right? And now, suddenly, there's technology that could maybe help close that gap. But how? And what's the catch? So, to help us understand this better, we have someone incredibly insightful joining us today, Ms. Pooja Rao, the founder of Annex Legal and an alumni of Symbiosis Law School, Hyderabad. Pooja ma'am, we are truly delighted to have you with us today. You've been at the forefront of applying AI solutions in legal spaces. And to be honest, I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Pooja brings with her over half a decade of rich legal experience working across areas like contract law, employment law, commercial transactions, regulatory compliance, workplace harassment, and much more. She'll help us unpack how AI tools can empower legal aid, especially in communities that need it most. It's no secret that the legal world is evolving fast, and some of the most exciting developments are happening in the space where technology meets public service. That's exactly what we're exploring today: how these new tools can actually help bridge the justice gap for underserved communities. So, to begin with the basics, what is generative AI and how is it different from traditional AI systems in the legal context?
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure being back to college and doing what is required to be done to impart what knowledge I have acquired over the period of time. And in the AI space, using AI for my day to day work and other aspects. So, thank you very much. Now, coming to the question as to how generative AI is different from traditional AI, and in fact, what are the key differences? In my personal opinion, I believe in the concept of traditional AI much better because I feel traditional AI suits well with our legal sector because traditional AI essentially is a rule based system where we are looking at a particular system that is going to give us a response based on the large scale data or the material or information that we are going to input into the system. So if I'm uploading 500 to 600 pages document, I can ask it to summarize that particular document, or for that matter, a large set of documents, and it will give me a response along with the citations. But coming to generative AI, it is here to stay and it is going to give us the response in the manner we like to. But the reliability aspect as compared to traditional AI is something that I am not as okay with on in today's day and age. But maybe down the line, 10 years or 15 years, we should be seeing a bridging of gap happening between these two systems where they may overlap each other and give us the best system that could be a third system as a mix of gen and traditional AI. Because one very good example that I can think of is, for example, I will ask traditional AI, give me case laws from Section 9 of Arbitration Act. It will give me a list of cases. But with generative AI, the advantage is if I ask, give me the case laws, it will give me the case laws, its summaries, and it will also link it to my issue that is in hand. So that's where it becomes better for me to use generative AI. But it goes without saying that any kind of intelligence that we're using is artificial in nature, and human interference becomes key. So that's where the difference between artificial and traditional AI lies. And any kind of intelligence is only a supportive system in place, and human interference is the best interference for the best output.
Um, like you said, there is generative AI and there is traditional AI. So, with traditional AI already being in existence, why do you think there was a need for generative AI?
Okay, so essentially, today, when you look at this fast paced environment that we are in, nobody really has time to sit and do a first cut of a draft. for example, a contract or a particular petition. So that's where the concept of generative AI was required. So I'll tell you one thing, I'm drawing this parallel from a legal point of view. I'm sure the IT sector and other sectors are using this for data analysis, and there was a requirement to cut the time. So essentially, the point was to reduce time and make it a faster based, result oriented thing. Essentially, is why generative AI came into picture. But for a sector specific response, traditional AI is the best thing in today's days. Yeah.
Can you give an example of an engine that is a generative AI and one that is traditional?
Yes, of course. So if we look at the traditional system, an SEC or a Manupatra are traditional AIs. So essentially, you have large chunk of judgments, bare acts, other published material, and other rules that are derived from the particular act that are uploaded, and then students, lawyers, advocates, and any others who have the you know subscription or have access to it can go do the required search from the gamut of information that's already present on the back end of the system of Manupatra or SEC, for example, right? But when you look at generative AI, the best would be Chat GPT that we really use on a day-to-day basis. We literally play around with it to ask very random questions, right? So that's where it is.
Makes sense. Moving on, how do you see generative AI reshaping access to justice in India and globally?
So one thing is that in India, we have picked up by a lot, but somewhere there is a gap from the legislation point of view, because until today we don't really have a very strong data privacy legislation that is going to give us a answer to a particular issue that arises out of a breach of some privacy aspect or a generative AI violating a particular privacy of a particular person. But globally, I think it has a better outreach, and the technology has emerged by a lot, because as much as I have read, in the Europe and the US, they do have AI kiosks where are used in police stations, or they are set up in a particular authorities place where you can go and use it, or the authorities itself are using to derive responses. In India as well, Supreme Court has done this kind of an experiment. They do have a kiosk for deriving a particular judgment, and they have seen that it has given them a good prompt. But the opinion of a lot of lawyers, critics, and people who also support AI is it's a long journey in India, because first thing, educating a lot of people on the usage is more important in India compared to, I will not compare, actually I'd keep it to empowering everybody as to how to use it. So that's where I think it's supposed to improve.
When speaking about breach of privacy, I just saw a post where Sam Altman spoke about how people use AI as therapists, as you already mentioned, yes. Therapists or doctors, or even when interns are interning in a big company and the senior just gives them a case, they just put the entire case in AI and ask it to draft a plaint or draft a complaint. Yes. So when we are putting out such private information on a very public platform, there are a lot of privacy concerns regarding it. Correct. So, if in case you're involved in a lawsuit, all of those conversations with AI can be subpoenaed. So, yeah. What do you think? Do you think we can build a privacy framework, a legal framework around this issue to make sure there is AI client confidentiality?
So basically, there are two aspects to the privacy thing. If I am using a particular AI system to ask questions about my personal life, then knowingly or unknowingly, me being the data principal, I am giving the information to the AI system. So tomorrow, I can't go and sue the artificial intelligence system for breach of my confidentiality, because I was the data principal who has given the information. However, If I, being a lawyer or a professional, for example, like you rightly said, a therapist, I have my client coming in and I had a session, I heard what the issue is, and then I had to give a redressal to her or him. That's when the problem of privacy pops in, because I I have a obligation to protect the confidentiality, which is sensitive personal information. They are literally elaborating on so many sensitive and personal issues to me. I my That data is supposed to be privileged. I am bound by a non disclosure obligation over there. So, having a very robust data privacy system becomes very important. And I still feel there is no correct stance from the legal standpoint as to what is right, what is wrong, what are the do's and don'ts. But I'm sure it is very loud and clear to the makers of these AI systems, like the developers, as to what are the privacy aspects that are to be integrated. That is the end to end encryption, or, not sharing the data out of the particular Indian jurisdiction or the European jurisdiction by whatever law they are governed under. Because the minute you see that the data is being transferred outside of the jurisdiction, that's where there is a mix of cross border laws as to who owns it, how is it to be treated, right? How is it to be processed? Is the current law under which the app is made covered under that particular thing, right? That's where it becomes more crucial for us to delve and understand that it's important for us to be very mindful when we're dealing with data as lawyers. Yeah.
Um, can you explain the potential of generative AI in improving legal aid services for marginalized communities?
Yes, so this actually is a very interesting and important question, to be very honest, because we sitting in this room doing this podcast in itself means we are having a formal education and we are here discussing about a particular aspect that has some pros, cons, and is important. But a lot of people in marginalized communities do not have access to formal education, do not have access to medical aid. Legal aid is a far fetched thing. So, when the basic things, which also is legal support, is not available, AI becomes a very good co pilot, I must say, to these communities. Because in today's days, maybe not everybody 100%, but a large group of people are owners of smartphones or have access to a smartphone or a system, right? A computer. So that's where you can see that AI playing a role and being a very transformative aspect in the day to day life of this marginalized community uh, personnel, where it can help you resolve a particular issue. It can actually tell you what are your rights, what are your do's and don'ts, you know literally what are you supposed to do next. Because even to file a simple form to get your Aadhaar card or to get your ration card, they do not know where to go, because some officer sitting in a village may not speak the same language as the villagers. That's when using an AI can create an edge, or actually bridge the gap between this officer who's present and the villagers, to translate the particular information and actually do the right thing, right? So I think these are the small things that are going to play such a vital role, right? Because we thought when this particular phone pay or Google Pay, these e-payment systems were being introduced, we never really thought that it would be so revolutionary that even in a very small remotest of the remote village, they would have QR codes to sell a small plate of idli or a small plate of bhajis, right? That's where we are coming from. So, if we can see that a payment system can be integrated and it can act as a system that is literally defining the word democracy, it's uniting everybody by one particular thing. I think AI can also be a thing, but of course, it has its own pros and cons. Using it in the right way, teaching it in the right manner. So it goes without saying there are risks and things are to be worked out here. But yeah, I think marginalized communities can benefit a lot by using these systems.
So, as a law student myself, I hope I'm speaking for everybody when I say that AI has become a part of our daily lives. Yeah. We use it in classrooms for moot problems, for trials, for everything. So, keeping this in mind, how can I make sure that students or even anybody in the legal profession do not completely rely on AI and can still keep their creativity alive?
Yeah. First and foremost, it's resistance. You will have to resist yourself from not using AI for everything. Like I said, it's only an assistance. You can use it for everything, but it should be in a very reasonable capacity, because bottom line is knowing the law. Without reading the law in theory, understanding the section as lawyers in the past understood without the help of I don't think AI will be helpful, because if you don't understand and interpret the law in its sense, or in its actual sense, in relation to the client's query or in relation to a moot problem or a trial advocacy, I don't think AI also will be able to give you a response, because AI, especially generative AI, is a very pattern based response. It's learning from the responses that have already been drawn before. So when you give it a particular prompt, you should be sure about what you're asking. So if that line is blurred, then it's going to cause hindrances in the type of presentation that you're going to give in a moot or a trial advocacy, or in any kind of preparation for that matter, right? So AI should be used in a very limited fashion for aspects like drafting a particular thing in a little more fancier or a suitable manner, right? But that goes without saying that it should always be the attempt of a law student to draft a particular moot memorial or a particular response to your thesis at college or a project by yourself, because that creativity, if not inculcated today, you will be pretty handicapped when you're actually out in the profession. Because a lot of times you may not have network, AI may be down, or you're just stuck, you don't have the time to give it the prompt and think so much, right? That's when you will have to improvise on your existing draft and draw some conclusions and put it out there. So that's where it's important to keep your creativity alive and keep your original works present in your presentations.
Makes sense. I mean, like you said, instead of using so much of your energy in writing a prompt, if we could just use that energy in making our own documents, then it would be much easier.
Easier, yeah. Because also the point is, if you give it a prompt, it will give you a response, sure, but you'll anyways have to go back and read the exact paragraph or the exact text from which the response was derived. So if you if you read it on your own, maybe you will have a better way of presenting, because AI is going to always look like an AI derived response. Everybody will pretty much have the similar way of writing, but that's not how it's literally supposed to be, right? Your personality has to reflect when you're presenting something.
I think everybody should keep that in mind.
Yeah, that is true.
With AI being a huge contributor in the legal landscape, what is your advice to lawyers to work with AI?
Okay, so honestly, as a user of AI, I would not say that AI should not be used at all and it should all be your creative instinct, because when you have a technology that can act as an assistance, I think lawyers or law students should use it for their benefit. But obviously, it goes without saying that it will have its own cons, like the disadvantages, if not used in the right manner. Because especially for law students or somebody who's just starting their legal career right now, it's very important to ensure that you have your own way of presenting things, because come what may, a particular prompt asked by you or your classmate in a different language, artificial intelligence is going to give you a response in the same style, right? So, what distinguishes you from your classmate or your peer is your own creativity. because chat gpt will give you arguments, or in fact any other artificial intelligence will give you arguments or counter arguments or a questionnaire for your, any project, based on the responses that it already has. So I don't think it's going to make any difference when somebody else asks it. But you as an individual thinker who has an opinion of your own and has a take of your own about a particular topic can make a lot of difference when you're summing a particular subject on your own, as compared to asking, AI. Maybe after forming your own understanding or opinion about something, you can take assistance of artificial intelligence to present it in a manner or in a language that is nice. So what happens then is that you are not killing your creativity but also using AI to enhance it. So lawyers should use AI as a enhancing aspect rather than creating something in its own, right? Especially when you are putting forward your opinion, especially when you have to give a redressal mechanism, because each case is unique in itself, and what case comes to you may not be the same as your peer. So how you approach it, how you tackle it, what is the line of defense or line of argument that you put forward to provide justice to your client or to somebody who has approached you, is unique to yourself, is unique to each individual. So that's where I think I would really urge law students and lawyers who are just starting off their journey, especially that generation that has AI become a part and parcel of their daily life. Because I still feel and I still see that a lot of lawyers who are more than 5 to 6 years experienced into the profession are still not using AI as a daily aspect, or have not made it as an integral part of their life as much as somebody who has just started off their career, or law students for that matter. So I think that's my advice to everybody who is out there trying to find a response. Should I just rely on it completely or just be creative myself?
I think I agree with you. Just this last semester, I worked at an office. I interned at an office which is a very small office. So they were not aware of how to use Manupatra, SEC, or none of them used ChatGPT or any sort of AI on a daily basis. So it was very exciting for us to teach them how to use it.
Yeah.
But then they told me that this is the worst thing that you could have ever said to us because now it's going to kill our creativity.
Yeah, exactly. So, see, like you said, you taught them something that's going to only add as a benefit. But, like, also what they told you is it's only going to kill their creativity, because they know that they had a creative way of presenting something, and this technology is just gonna hamper the creativity, so to say. So, I think that's where you take a cue from, to ensure that your creativity is always put out there, because not everybody is hearing or discussing things like we are today sitting here, right? So I think better understanding or education should be imparted in law schools or in internships or in any other place where lawyers are going for some formal education, right? And everybody should tell them, like, there should be lectures where they, the presenter or the faculty member is explaining to the student as to what is the reasonable amount of AI usage. Yeah, I think that's very important.
That's right. I completely agree with that. And to sum it all up, what keeps you motivated in this field?
So essentially, I really like talking to people. I enjoy talking to people, and I love discussing about new topics. And obviously, from when ChatGPT has been downloaded on my phone, I talk to it more than people. So I'm actively trying to put it away from my life, because my character in itself is being diluted because of it. So I am not a big fan of it, as much as it's a very good companion, so to say, when I'm just like traveling by my own. But I think it's good to have AI out there and just use it. Sorry, what was the question?
What keeps you motivated in this?
Me motivated. Just cut that small part. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, what keeps me motivated is talking to people, understanding the issue that is presented. I'm speaking from a very lawyery point of view. And then for me, it's not only about just giving them a response, okay, draft a contract and give it to me, negotiate for me. But my main thing is to understand the actual business of my client. What made them go to the vendor? Why do they have to approach a vendor? Why is the particular clause important for them? So understanding the whole managerial aspect of a particular client, or what made them do a particular thing and why has the issue arose. So it's the whole why, what, when is what makes me, feel alive every day. And I'm very motivated to hear a lot of stories about how somebody has started their company versus how somebody is having an investment round, right? Or somebody who's like very excited to start another venture or another, vertical altogether in their company. So I think talking to people keeps me very active and very motivated, and giving a very suggestive approach to running a business is something that I really find a joy in. So yeah.
So I can say that curiosity keeps you the most motivated in
Yes,
this field.
absolutely.
Okay. So I think we can sum it up. Thank you so much for being here with us today. The Legal Aid Center is very grateful to you, and this was a very fruitful session. And I will remember everything that you've said. Maybe put some words on a T-shirt as well.
Oh my god, that is amazing. Let me know how you design it. Do not use Chat GPT again to design your own t shirt based on my words. Let my words have its own copyright. Lol. But no, it was wonderful being back to college and participating in this particular thing. I'll thank everybody, the faculty in charge, and all of you guys, members of the Legal Aid Center. Wonderful group of people, and would love to be back anytime for anything. Thank you so much. It was great. Thanks a lot. Thank you.